Alright, on this worksheet, at the top it should say Conceptual Multiplication number 1. You will be solving each multiplication problem using the standard algorithm. So here it says standard algorithm. All of these are standard algorithm and an area model. You'll be creating an area model on the right side of each standard algorithm problem. Alright. We are going to be multiplying a 2-digit number times a 2-digit number. First, I'm going to show you this as an area model. Then, in the other problems, we will be using standard algorithm. Let's begin by making our area model. I have my square, or rectangle, and now I'm going to multiply 60 as the top number and 94 as the side number. So because these are 2-digit numbers and there is a ones and a tens, I'm going to split my rectangular model into two parts. This side is larger because 6 tens is much larger than 0 ones. Now I'm also going to write 94 over here, and 9 tens is much larger than 4 ones also, so I will be splitting my area model so that 90 is the larger part and 4 is the smaller part, and 60 is the larger part and 0 is the smaller portion. Now we need to multiply because we are multiplying. The first thing we do is that we start in the bottom right-hand corner. So we're going to take 0 times 4. 0 times 4 is 0. All right, and over here in our standard algorithm, you can see the same thing. First, we take 0 times 4 equals 0. Now, we need to do this box. 60 times 4. 6 times 4, if you don't know, we can always take the whole numbers that we know how to multiply first. 6 times 4 is 24, and then we add the 0. So in our standard algorithm over here, we usually just take 6 times 4. But really this is 60 times 4, which is what we just did, 60 times 4. Do you see that? So it's like if we're ignoring the 9, it looks like 60 times 4, which is 6 times 4 is 24. So we write 24 here. Now, in our bottom row here, we have 24 plus 0, which equals, 240 plus 0, which equals 240. And that is exactly what we have over here. Now it's time to do 0 times 90. And it's going to be in this box right here. 0 times 90 is 0. Same thing over here. We're going to take 0 times 9 is 0. But because we're actually taking 0 times 90, there will be a 0 here and a 0 here, because this one is our placeholder. This 0 is our placeholder, so we need a placeholder down here. Last thing we need to do is multiply 60 times 90. If you don't know what that is, just take 6 times 9, which is 54. And then we add the 2 zeros that are also there. So this row will be 5,400 plus 0, which is 5,400. All right, but now on our standard algorithm, we have already multiplied 0 times 9, so now we need to multiply 6 times 9. 6 times 9 is 54. Do you see how I have 240 here and 5,400 here? Now we need to add them together to find out what our whole area model is, or what our whole answer is. So let's add them together. 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 0 is 4. 2 plus 4 is 6. And 5 plus nothing is 0. It is 5. Same thing works over here with these two numbers. If we add them up, and I had to add them up so that my ones were in the same column, and my tens were in the same column, and my hundreds were in the same column, and my thousands were in the same column. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. 5 plus nothing is 5. This answer and this answer are exactly the same. Good job. The next problem is 73 times 81. We are going to solve this problem using an area model as well. Draw your rectangle for your area model. Just like last time, I have 2 digits times 2 digits. So I'm going to draw my vertical line to make 2 digits, my tens and my ones, and my horizontal line to make my 2-digit number. So if I break apart 73, I'm going to have 70 and 3. And if I break apart 81, I'm going to have 80 and 1. Now it's time to multiply. We saw in our last problem that when we multiply, we always multiply our ones first. So I should start in my ones column. And we did 3 times 1 first, so I'm going to start with 3 times 1 and do this box first. So 3 times 1 is 3. And over here in our standard algorithm, 3 times 1 is 3. Now, let's do 70 times 1. 70 times 1 is 70. So over here, we will also do 7 times 1 is 7. So here we can see 73. And over here, when we add up our row, we get 73. Now we will multiply 3 times 80. If you don't know what 3 times 80 is, perhaps you know what 8 times 3 is. It is 24. And then we add our 0 to the end. Okay, here we do the same thing. Because we're not just taking 8 times 3, we're taking 3 times 80. So we put our placeholder here. Because 3 times 80 is the same thing as we just did over here. 8 times 3 is 24. But we have to keep our 0 because there's a placeholder here, so there must be a placeholder here. So now we will do 70 times 80. If you don't know what 70 times 80 is, let's take 7 times 8. 7 times 8 is 56. And then we have our 2 zeros hanging out here that we need to add. Now, over on this side, in our standard algorithm, we are usually thinking that we take 7 times 8. But we're actually taking 70 times 80, which is, of course, what we just did over here. 70 times 80, as we just know, is 5,600. But over here, in our standard algorithm, we're just going to put 7 times 8. Excuse me, I messed up. this 2 needs to hang out up here because we still need to multiply. So let me erase that. The 2 goes up here. 7 times 8 is 56, plus our 2 on top. 56 plus 2 is 58. So if I add up these two areas, 5,600 plus 240, 0, 4, 8, 5. You can see this number is the same number that I have over here. So now it's time for me to add up these two rows plus these two rows, or 73 plus 5,840. 3 plus 0 is 3. 7 plus 4 is 11. 1 plus 8 is 9. And 5 plus 0 is 5. Now I'm also going to add up each part of my area model just to check my answer. So I'm going to start with 5,600 plus 240 plus 70 plus 3. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 3. 0 plus 4 plus 7 is 11. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 2 is 9, and 5 plus nothing is 5. Here, we have the same answer that we have here. So the area model works the exact same way as the standard algorithm. All right, this problem is 88 times 20. Let's make our area model again. Now, because these are 2 digits times 2 digits, I am going to split them like this. And you can see that my 88 is much longer than my 20 side, because 88 is a bigger number than 20. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can make it a perfect square and it still works. When I divide 88, I get 80 and 8. When I divide 20, I get 20 and 0. All right, let's start in our bottom left corner. 8 times 0 is 0. And over here on the standard algorithm, 8 times 0 is 0. Now let's do the next one. 80 times 0 is, anything times 0 is 0. So over here in our standard algorithm, it looks like we're taking 8 times 0, but actually we took 80 times 0. But because so 8 times 0 is 0. But because when we add up this entire row, it's still going to be 0. These 2 zeros mean the exact same thing as 1 0. All right, now let's do the next row. 8 times 20. If you don't know what 8 times 20 is, let's try 8 times 2. 8 times 2 is 16. And now we're going to add our 0 to the end. Now, coming back to the standard algorithm over here. We have already used this 0 twice to multiply these two numbers. So I'm going to cross it out. And now I'm going to be multiplying 8 times 2. But really, it's 8 times 20 that I'm multiplying. So as we know from over here, 8 times 20 is 160. 160. Now, our last box that we need to fill in is 80 times 20. If you don't know what 80 times 20 is, let's try 8 times 2. 8 times 2 is 16 again. And now we add our 2 zeros. 0, 0. So here, we're going to take this is actually a 0 when we multiply 8 times 2. So 80 times 20 is 1,600. But so we can write it like this and then write 1,600 underneath. 1,600 or 1,600. And here we have each of our numbers in the boxes. So I could add them up. Let's add these. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 6 plus 0 is 6. 1 plus 6 is 7. And 1 plus nothing is 1. If I add up my numbers over here, I have the same thing. 1,600 plus 160 equals 1,760. It's the same. Now, the one thing you'll see that's different in the standard algorithm is most people just multiply when in their second number, they just say, oh, 8 times 2 is 16. So they put the 6 here and they carry the 1 here. Because they still have to multiply these two numbers. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1 is 17. And then they write 17 there. And then they add them up and they say, oh, that's my answer.